hundreds of National Guard members from Texas, and he has ordered them to activate for duty in Illinois. I have called upon Governor Abbott to immediately withdraw his support for this decision and refuse to allow Texas National Guard members to be used in this way. Let me be clear. Donald Trump is using our service members as political props and as pawns in his illegal effort to militarize our nation's cities. I want to thank Attorney General Kwame Raoul and his staff, along with my General Counsel Ann Spillane and our excellent Governor's Office legal team, for working tirelessly for weeks now to prepare federal lawsuits in anticipation of this unconstitutional invasion of Illinois by the federal government. For weeks now, Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, and Gregory Bovino have brought their militarized CBP and ICE agents to the streets of Chicago to cause violence and chaos in this city. They need to stop inciting our city's residents. Since the beginning of this invasion, families have been snatched up off the streets or removed from their homes, zip-tied and detained for hours, including especially U.S. citizens and legal residents of our state. And in the words of CBP Chief Patrol Agent Greg Bovino, they're being chosen by how they look. Peaceful protesters have been hit with tear gas and shot with rubber bullets. Journalists simply reporting the facts on the ground have been targeted and arrested. U.S. citizens, including children, have been traumatized and detained. This escalation of violence is targeted and intentional and premeditated. The Trump administration is following a playbook: cause chaos, create fear and confusion, make it seem like peaceful protesters are a mob by firing gas pellets and tear gas canisters at them. Why? To create the pretext for invoking the Insurrection Act so that he can send military troops to our city. He wants to justify and normalize the presence of armed soldiers under his direct command. I want to take you through the steps that he's taken to follow the playbook and show how it is playing out real time here in Illinois. When I first heard reports of Trump's plan to send armed military troops into our streets, more than 100 elected officials, business leaders, clergy, law enforcement, educators, and community organizations gathered on August 25th to send an unequivocal message to Donald Trump. We don't want troops on the streets of Chicago. There was never an insurrection or an invasion on the ground that justified the deployment of the military to our American city. We stood out there on a beautiful day at River Point Park to make that point. Donald Trump's deranged depiction of Chicago as a hellhole, a war zone, and the worst and most dangerous city in the world was just complete BS. He clearly has decided to declare war on a great American city that has the lowest homicide rate in 60 years, in a state that has record employment and near record tourism. And he's done it for some unspoken reason. I spent the days and weeks following that out and about in our communities, in Bronzeville, in Austin, in Little Village, Berwyn, South Shore, and others, walking and talking and listening to real Chicagoans and local business owners, something Donald Trump, Greg Bovino, Tom Homan, and Kristi Noem have never bothered to do. No insurrections, no invasions. The folks in the neighborhoods do not want armed troops marching in their streets. When it comes to public safety, they want civilian law enforcement when they need them, and jobs, and after-school programs for kids in the neighborhoods. They do not want Donald Trump to occupy their communities. Then the Trump invasion began. Since ICE and CBP announced their operations on September 8th, our people have been subjected to violence, intimidation, and harassment. They have struck fear in our communities, including notably fear in the hearts of U.S. citizens. Trump and the thuggery that his agents have brought has actively made us less safe. Less than a week later, on September 12th, ICE shot and killed a man in Franklin Park, a nearby suburb of Chicago. His name was Silverio Villegas Gonzalez. Reports say that he had just dropped his kids off at daycare and was headed to work. Shortly after that incident, ICE issued a statement justifying the killing, saying that the federal agent was seriously injured, sustained multiple injuries, and was dragged a significant distance. Immediately, we were left with more questions than answers. And frankly, the story just didn't add up. I demanded a full accounting into the facts of the situation. The community was rightfully distraught. Even Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum demanded answers. The facts are coming out, and they are raising even more questions. The Chicago Sun-Times obtained body camera footage from Franklin Park PD. The agent said on camera his injuries were nothing major and that he was dragged a little bit. As a reminder, DHS said that the agent was seriously injured, sustained multiple injuries, and was dragged a significant distance. His children, Silverio's children, have now been left without a father, and they and the public deserve to know the truth. There's been zero accountability or transparency from ICE or the administration. Last week, federal agents dressed in camouflage gear conducted a military-style raid on an apartment building in South Shore, a neighborhood of Chicago. They brought Black Hawk military helicopters and more than 100 agents in full tactical gear. Even though it was supposedly a very dangerous and important mission, they brought dozens of cameras and set them up so that they could film their attack on the building in HD for social media. See for yourself. So even though they documented the raid, their propaganda video conveniently left out important facts. In the dead of night, and seemingly for the cameras, armed federal agents emerged from the Black Hawk helicopters, rappelling onto the roof of that apartment building. According to media reports, the agents ransacked multiple apartments and detained almost everyone in the building, including U.S. citizens and children who had done nothing wrong. Witnesses told reporters that federal officers zip-tied the hands of people, including children and seniors. Some, including U.S. citizens, were detained in the back of vans for hours. Seemingly proud of this shameful treatment of innocent people, they recorded it, and Kristi Noem posted the video, bragging about the operation. Since we sat through that propaganda, I think it's important to hear directly from members of the community who experienced this takeover of the building.
Neighbors like Ebony Watson says they ducked for cover as they heard several flashbangs go off.
They was terrified. The kids was crying. People was screaming. They looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I seen the little girl come around the corner. Because they was bringing the kids out too. Had them zip tied to each other. That's all I kept asking. Where's the morality? Where's the human? One of them literally laughed. He was standing right here. He said, them kids.
Watson says budget trucks and military-style vans were used to separate parents from their children. Other neighbors say.
All right, let's move on. No one can hear it, although ABC 7 gets credit
for it. They had a big 15-inch chainsaw with a round blade on it, cutting this fence down. We're under siege. We're being invaded by our own military.
The FBI did confirm this morning that they did help the U.S. Border Patrol carry out a targeted immigration enforcement operation in this area, and they say they have been supporting these efforts at the direction of the U.S. Attorney General.
Imagine being a child awakened in the middle of the night by a Black Hawk helicopter landing on your roof. Imagine an armed stranger entering your home and forcibly removing you from your bed, zip-tying your hands, separating you from your family, and detaining you in a dark van for hours. This didn't happen in some faraway authoritarian regime. It happened right here in Chicago, right here in the United States of America. The reports of excessive use of force against children is unconscionable. And the way many innocent residents who lived in the building were treated is appalling. In response, I've directed the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services and the Illinois Department of Human Services to provide support and to evaluate the treatment of the children who were traumatized. If they find suspected abuse or neglect by federal agents, the state will be taking every possible action to hold those individuals accountable. Now, I'd like to turn to some examples of the more egregious actions that we've seen from ICE, CBP, and the other federal agents. Over the past several weeks, it has been made abundantly clear that Trump's invasion force is not going after the worst of the worst, like he said. They're harassing and detaining many people based only on the color of their skin. Tamale vendors, delivery people, people looking for work at Home Depot, and even families just out and about enjoying themselves on a sunny day. Dasha Ramirez, an 8-year-old girl, and her family were detained by federal agents while enjoying a day in Millennium Park. Witnesses saw her crying and clutching her doll. Honestly, what danger did they represent? What is it that they presented that was so awful? And how did detaining them make anyone safer? Federal agents have been openly carrying assault rifles downtown, racially profiling people, and based on that, demanding proof of citizenship, and snatching people up in our neighborhoods without a judicial warrant. All of it rightfully has Illinoisans very upset. In the small suburban village of Broadview, with a population of 8,000, federal agents have turned 2 blocks of protest areas into a war zone by firing chemical agents and tear gas at peaceful protesters. They've used rubber bullets and flashbangs. Agents reportedly unholstered their guns and pointed them at peaceful protesters. They arrested a journalist who was a bystander, and they fired a chemical weapon at a CBS reporter in her car. They even detained Juan Munoz, an Oak Park trustee, and they're detaining people for extended periods in a facility not designed for that purpose. After seeing this, I could not, in good faith, allow federal agents to continue inciting people who were there to express their First Amendment rights. At the request of the Broadview Police Department and with the help of the Cook County Sheriff's Office, we sent backup to ensure people could safely express their rights while also protecting nearby Broadview residents who have had ICE and CBP operating in their neighborhoods in an aggressive fashion and interfering with their daily lives. As someone who has, myself, peacefully protested since I was a kid, I understand the sentiments on the ground from some of the advocates, but I want to say this: peaceful protesters are welcome. Federal agents who abuse their position to terrorize Illinoisans and incite violence are not welcome. They aren't receiving any orders from Trump to cease and desist their aggressive behavior. Remember, they answer only to Trump, not to the people of Illinois. In case there's any doubt about that, Noam, Bovino, and their agents have been escalating the situation outside the ICE facility and inhibiting the Broadview police from doing their jobs. At one point, state police asked CBP leaders for time to move the crowd to avoid any unnecessary confrontations. Rather than give state police time to protect the protesters and the ICE agents, Kristi Noem chose to drive her motorcade through the protesters to create clashes. Shortly after, Bovino came out to threaten mass arrests. These stories are only scratching the surface. While all of this happened, we got reports that tear gas was unnecessarily thrown by agents at people on a busy street in Logan Square, right near an elementary school and a grocery store. A Chicago alderman at a hospital asked masked officers some questions about someone that they detained, and she was arrested for it.
Learn your laws.
He has constitutional rights.
No.
He has constitutional rights. Do you have a sign?
No. You need to leave.
For him?
Turn around. You're turn around and leave.
He is under.
I'm going to arrest you if you
arrest.
not leave.
You are going to be placed under arrest.
Do you have a signed judicial warrant for him?
Can somebody go in the hallway and get Lisa for me, please?
Do you have a signed judicial warrant for him?
Can somebody go in the hallway and get Lisa for me? This is an older person who's being under arrest. I need my other staffer who's in the hallway by registration to come here, please.
You are hurting. I am asking. I'm not.
Can somebody get my staffer, please?
This is a hospital. Do you have a signed judicial warrant for him? I am asking. I am asking. I did not touch you.
We told you to leave.
I did not
You're
touch
impeding.
you.
Now you're
I
under
did not
arrest for
touch you.
impeding.
I did
Thank
not
you.
touch you.
Where-
I asked you if you had a
Is
signed
Lisa still out there?
judicial warrant for him. It is very simple. It is very simple. That man has constitutional rights. I did not touch you. This is a public space. I am not trespassing. I am asking you. Do you have a signed judicial warrant? I am asking. Do you have a signed judicial warrant for him? It is a question, sir.
Ma'am,
You are
we
an
do not
agent.
need- we do
You are
not
a federal
need-
agent.
We do not need a
You are a
warrant for
federal
somebody
agent. I
under
am an
arrest.
elected official, and I am asking. Do you have
What
a
elected
signed
official?
judicial warrant? I'm the alderman of this
Can you
board.
keep recording?
am
I need a
elected-
call.
If arresting an elected official for peacefully asking questions isn't a demonstration of authoritarianism, then what is? I refuse to let Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, and Gregory Bovino continue on this march toward autocracy. Their plan all along has been to cause chaos, and then they can use that chaos to consolidate Donald Trump's power. They think they can fool us all into thinking that the way to get out of this crisis that they created is to give them free rein. Well, that plan will only work if we let it. The state of Illinois is going to use every lever at our disposal to resist this power grab and get Noam's thugs the hell out of Chicago. I'm not afraid. I am not afraid, and I won't back down. Now, before I turn the podium over, the court here has given U.S. Department of Justice 2 days to respond in writing to the state's TRO motion. They have to respond by midnight Wednesday night, and the next hearing will be on Thursday. And with that, I'd like to pass it over to our terrific Attorney General, Kwame Raoul.